Thanks for watching from the Krabby Captain and the Sunny Sailor.
One of my joys living in the Caribbean is how many octopuses I find. Octopuses or octopi, that is the question. Nearly every single time I snorkel, even in very shallow water, I find one of these intelligent creatures. It usually only takes a few hours of interaction with each to get them to trust me. I named this little octo Ozzy. Caribbean reef octopuses live for less than 2 years, so finding a young one full of curiosity and trust is always a treat. Sometimes when they get older, they have more of a cautious nature, as well they should have, but my favorite experiences are with the youngins. With me being only inches away from Ozzy, this cutie decided to leave the safety of his den and go exploring. I was honored that he felt such trust in me to leave his safe home with me being so close by. And we're off. I quickly picked up the camera to take along while making my perfunctory trip to breathe at the surface. I knew better than to take my eyes off of Ozzy. You can see how quickly he blends into the seabed. Can you see him now? It's like watching one of those street magicians performing the cup game. You think you know where the P is, but do you really? Ozzy had decided to stop safely tucked under the ledge of a rock. Was he testing me to see if I was still worthy of trust, or was he playing a mischievous game of hide and seek? Those peering eyes continually evaluated and assessed me as a friend or a foe as I rose to the surface for air. After all, this was the first time Ozzy and I were attempting such a friendly excursion. But the intelligence of these creatures and their ability to quickly form a judgment on whether I'm a threat is astounding. I have found no other marine life that has the capacity to do that, especially so soon in our relationship. But curiosity overcame me, and I wondered if Ozzy's trust for me was at the point we could have physical interaction. I certainly didn't want to scare the little guy, nor break the trust that we were testing out. So when I saw his little body retreat a bit, I decided it was just too soon. Trust was important. Respect was vital. Ozzy's ability to mimic the colors and textures of his surrounding is astounding. So tiny, but so smart. 9 brains all working together inside a boneless body. Soulful eyes ever watching. Cautious, yet curious. And look at that, now trusting. What an incredible feelings I had, both physically and emotionally. The squishy body felt tender and soft, but the flood of emotions rushing through me were almost overwhelming. Was I really touching a wild octopus that was openly vulnerable? He wasn't even hiding, running away, or attempting to evade my touch. He was accepting and trusting of me, even for a second caress. Ozzy moved again, but not very far, and certainly not to hide or for protection. I returned to the surface for air and almost lost sight of him. But once again, the hide-and-seek game was thankfully made easy for me. It's been proven that octopuses are sometimes social creatures that seek out interactions. They are good at solving problems and inquisitive about seeing new things. It's impossible to know what was going on in my octo friend's mind, but I did get the sense that he liked having me around. I'm not sure how I'm always able to find octos. I really feel like they find me rather than the other way around. They are such masters of disguises that if they don't want to be seen, well, they just won't. I wondered if when I returned to the surface, if Ozzy was moving up towards me. Why would this octopus go up when I went up? Was he making sure I was coming back? Did he think it was time for me to do the hiding and he wanted to have a jump on the game? I feel such elation when one of them decides to let me into their special little world. Ozzy went about his business of pulling out mollusks and snails while making his way around the neighborhood. The sight of Ozzy coming towards me rather than moving away from me was yet another of those magical moments. I was so excited to see Ozzy approach me that I almost forgot to focus the camera. Sometimes it is hard for me to film the incredible experiences because of my excitement of being in them. I continued to interact with this octopus for many days, 14 to be exact. And each time I would start my snorkel with the expectation that today might be a day that I would not see my little friend. But every single day, Ozzy would show himself to me. Sometimes he would be in his den, sometimes he wouldn't, and I would swim and swim looking for signs of him. One day, after 45 minutes of not finding him, I was content with watching other fish and knowing I'd had him for the last 9 days in a row. I was content with that. And then, while peering at something else, I would glance up and he would be perched on top of the very coral I was near, just inches from my face. The confidence and faith that this little octopus showed in me was like a mermaid's badge of honor. This was one very special octopod. And I'm one very lucky mermaid. Octopuses often travel around in various zigzag patterns when leaving their den, but always travel in a straight line when it's time to return home. I have watched this with fascination many times. As Ozzy moves back toward the safety of his den, he looks like he is pulling up a big skirt while tiptoeing back home. The amount of giggling I do underwater when watching the antics of an octopus is a lot. They are quite comical little creatures, and I just adore them.
Please come back again and see more as we sail the Caribbean. Thanks for watching from the Krabby Captain and the Sunny Sailor.